Okay, hello everyone. Happy Good Friday. Right, so as promised, I promised that I would do a talk about how I set the studio up to film, and I'll sort of talk you through some of the issues that I had initially. I posted a picture earlier on in the week about this. So initially, what happened was, and I will show you this. So let me grab the phone. So initially, this was my where is it? This was my desk that I did my filming on. So I did my filming on this little desk, just with a gooseneck clamp. So the clamp clipped on here because I realized that it couldn't be on the desk because when I was writing it was causing the screen to shake. I also needed a separate light source which came from this direction because I was writing this way, so the light had to be that way. Of course, being so close to the window, it also meant that there was a slight problem. This madness that has grown up around my desk, just remember, this is where I sit to work. So I normally look out into the studio this way. Now, this is my view, which is a little bit depressing because when you're accustomed to seeing this view unencumbered by technology, and I would sit here. This is my view now. So my books are all books and pigments and everything. I look out and this is what I see, and I'm like, I just want this view back. So I started off with that gooseneck, and then I sort of met the guys from Arkon. So these are Arkon Mounts. So there are two types here. There is the one with the the grouping brackets, and then there is this new one which I have my my camera on, and this one's really quite amazing. Okay, I didn't plan on having to hold the phone away from me, so let me flip this around. So with this one, I can open a catch and it moves that way, or I can, and it locks in place, so it's really, really good for that, or I can pull it out this way. Let's just push that back in. I normally have the strap off of the camera, and the new brackets that Arkon Mounts have, this clamps onto the tubular steel, and this is a new bracket as well for the phone, and it tilts really beautifully up and down, tilts to the side, it can rotate. I generally keep it here so that I can do a, come on. I generally keep it there so I can do I tilt it down just a little bit. And the other thing that I have that comes with the mount is this. Sorry, lots of toing and froing. So I have my iPad in this, and you can see me there and you can see me there. I have my iPad in this, so this pulls down to extend at the bottom, which is really, really great to hold the iPad in place. And sometimes when I'm on a class, you'll see me looking up quite a lot because that's where my clock is. So I have a really good view of how much time I have left, because I'm I'm not getting any younger, so my eyesight's a little bit odd. So let's put this back in place. Let's take that off and let's go back to the camera. So there we have it. Okay. Now, I bought this ring light because I needed more light. But since I've been teaching classes on Zoom, I found that because of the way I've set the bracket up, and I'll show you that in a second, I needed a second light. So that light is lower so that even though I have a nice big general light, I also need a nice big general light up there. So it sort of distributes light all here. I needed a general light so that I don't end up with a shadow on my hand. Just put this in the jig so that you can. So what used to happen was this. You can see that shadow there. And so I realized that when you're writing script, if the lines are really light, if they're really delicate, you end up with a shadow where the line is. So I had to get another light to cancel out the shadow. The only problem is I have to tilt this. So that's the view I'm getting. I have to tilt this like so to ensure that the light isn't in my eyes when I'm trying to write. So there's a lot of stuff that I've learned, and of course, this mount, which is for an iPad, I just rest the camera in there if I just need to prop it up for a second. So that sort of, that's my setup. Right. So let's look at a more detailed aspect of the setup. How am I going to do this? Right. Okay, here we go. All right. So I have an old iPhone, which I use as my camera when I'm teaching Zoom, because I didn't find that the that the document cameras that I've tried, and I tried like about 5 or 6 document cameras, I didn't find those document cameras were sharp enough for teaching things like copperplate script. And one of my friends, Adam Williamson, who runs with Richard, Art of Islamic Pattern, he said he found that the iPhone was a much better camera for really fine, detailed work. So I thought, okay, fine, let's get this and see how it works. So I have some software called IVCam. And what IVCam does, just open this back up. What IVCam does is it's on the other phone and it links to the computer via USB cable. You can do it wirelessly, but it's better if you're using the cable because it's just a better signal. And it allows you to put the phone onto the screen to share it. So before I go into that, I want to show you something. Now, let's go to video. When I'm filming, so you know how when I'm demonstrating, how you see it from the angle that I'm seeing it. So when I'm writing, what you're seeing is this. And the way that I do it is I put the camera on video. Okay, let's move this. Do you see why all of these little things, these little gadgets really help? So what I do is I put the camera on video. I hold it. So, usually you're holding it like this, right? Do you see those the time indexes at the top? So I generally hold it so that the camera is at the top. So I do this. See how the time index is still up there, and I tilt it up. So you see how the time index is here now. And then I put it in the jig, I'll show you what I'm doing now. So I put it into the jig. So I turn the jig, and you see how the time index is still at the top. I put it into the jig. So this is one of the older holders, which I sort of prefer for the bigger phones. And I tilt the phone back. So what that does is it films it as though I'm looking at it from this position. That's why I hunted for ages when I started doing Instagram and filming content. I tried filming from here. I tried filming from above because I could never find an angle that I thought was really good. I tried filming from. I then sat down and I thought, what do I want you to see when I'm writing? So Arkon Mounts have just come on. Guys, definitely go and check them out. Their products are exceptional. So, as I'm sort of showing you the products and how I use them. So I wanted to film, I wanted you to see the nib working. And I also wanted you to see it from my point of view. So having you looking at it from this way, when I'm writing it from this way, which is actually really this way, allows you to see the time spreading. It allows you to see the letters in the correct direction. Watching from here, and I tried this for ages. I tried this. If you go back really far enough, you'll see that I would film from here. Filming from here was really problematic because it meant that the further away I moved from the camera, the more problematic the shapes of the letters became. They started to be distorted, and so I really tried lots of different ways to make this work. I need. Okay, let's grab one of these. So, of course, before I got my Arkon Mount, I used tons of little things. So I'm just going to put, this is my travel one. So I have one of these octopus ones. So I'm going to put this in here because I want to talk with you about how I set my Arkon Mount up to work for filming calligraphy. Now, a lot of so if you go into Arkon, you'll see a lot of the stuff is nails and cookies and cakes and really amazing stuff. I mean, the people who are doing these things are brilliant. They have some fantastic feeds, and you go and then you sit there. And, I have to set an alarm if I go into Arkon Mounts and I start looking at people's feeds. I then go off to see their feed. I have to set an alarm because you're looking at people making cookies and you're like, wow, look at all of this. And I started to think, how can I set my mount up to work the way I wanted it to work? And this became a real problem for me because of how I like to film. And also, it's not just a problem because of how I like to film. It's also a problem because of how I want my students to see what I'm doing. So I tried tons of things, and then I contacted Aaron at Arkon Mount and I said, do you sell these bits singly? Because the mount comes with 3 of them, but I realized that I needed more than 3 because there's a little bulb at the front that allows the camera to tilt, but I found that the camera didn't tilt enough. So I needed an extra shaft. Thank you, Aaron. I needed an extra shaft. So the shaft is tilted at an angle. Now, I also needed another shaft to add to the 3 of them because my mount wasn't far out enough because I'm not on the desk that I'm working on. I also realized that under no circumstance can the light, the mount, nothing can touch the desk I'm working on, because if the desk moves and the light starts to shake and the mount starts to shake, it becomes really problematic. So I'm going to show you how I set up my Arkon mount for filming. And the shafts, I found the shafts really amazing, because they really helped me to set the mount up the way I wanted it to work for me, and the way that I needed it to work for me. So I'm going to put this in another holder. Right. Okay. So there's my phone, and I need to tilt the phone this way and this way. So do you see how far up this is? This is also tilted quite far. So I sort of put the ball so it's vertical, and then I turned it so that the shaft would turn out. So this is already tilted, and the phone is tilted, and so I can tilt the phone flatter, or I can tilt it further back. And the great thing about this is this. Okay, so I'll turn this around. Sorry about all of this turning and turning and turning. So I'll put this here. Okay. So what I do when I teach is this. So I'm teaching now, if you only have 3, then you have to work all the way up here. And I prefer to work down here. So when I'm teaching, I'm here, and I have this usually about here. This is tilted at this angle, because of course, you have to tilt it to the angle of the script. And the page, so that's my grid there. And so my grid is facing the angle of the camera, so it looks like it's filming straight on. Now this is the great thing about this, right? So I have 2 aspects to this. When I start teaching, I have it up here. And I'm teaching. So I'll put this on in a little bit. So I can see the screen there. Let's put it on now. So I'm using IV Cam. So there's IV Cam. Just gonna plug it in. Wait for it to come up. And then I turn it this way, and I put it in here. And so I'm not even seeing. I can't even see the screen from here, right? So what I do is this. When I'm talking to my students, if I want them to see my arm working, let's move this back. This is what happens. So I do this. So they can see my whole arm. So if I'm doing muscular movement, they can see what's happening with the arm. And if I'm ready to zoom in, so look at look here and look here. So if I'm ready to zoom in, I can't see what's on up here, but I know I know what I'm seeing, so I just zoom in. And then I continue writing. If I need to move out a little bit, I move out, and I turn the camera so that, okay, let's put a piece of paper down. I'll put this down. If I need to zoom out, and if I need to zoom in, I zoom in, and I tilt the screen to how I want it to tilt. I then check to see where am I writing. So if I'm writing here, I would move the camera out and tilt it back, and do it there, do this, maybe go in a little bit more. So I'm always in a comfortable position. I'm not reaching over the desk, or I'm not scrunching up myself. And then if I'm doing really fine work, then I tell the student, okay, so I need to do some really fine work. I'm not going to show you my arm anymore. You understand what that is. I get up and I drop this so that it's in the right place. Lock it in place. Move the wire. And I'm back into the position that I need to work in. So if I need to get closer, I can change this position. So I have this, let's take this out. So I have this. So the new one is great. It springs open really, really easily. It's really great to put in. I like the heavier one. I'm a little bit crazy. So what I did was this, right? So I have one of the older ones. So I took the newer one, the newer shaft with. So you see how Arkon is different here, and how it's different here. So I put a new and old, a newer, old, a new and old shaft, because otherwise it would drive me crazy. So I put this in here, right? So what I did was this. So I've not locked this in place really well. So it's quite tight. So I can tilt this, and I can tilt this as well. So this is locked in place. So I would need to unscrew this to tilt it a little bit more, because there's no point in unscrewing it here, because this is not an open part of the shaft, but this is. So this can rotate up, and this can rotate up as well, but I generally leave it in one place because that's what I use for the rotation. And I tried lots of different ways to set this up so that it would do what I wanted it to do. Because remember, I'm using it to demonstrate with, like when I do a live, or when I film for when I make videos for Instagram, or when I do a live, or when I'm teaching. So it has to have quite a few different uses. I just need to put this up here. Always careful with the cables. So it's really quite good. Which one is the PAScribe Arkon Mount going? Okay, when is the PAScribe Arkon Mount going into production? That's a very, very good one. You guys, you crack me up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the jig. Let me take this one out, and I'm going to replace it. So actually, you know what? Why am I talking? I might as well just show you. So I'm going to take this out of the jig, and I'm just going to put it in the little holder here. So that's another reason why this holder is so good here, because it means that I could, let's close this IV cam. I don't need Zoom open anymore. Yes, leave end meeting for all. It's just me, so yes, end meeting for all. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this, because I'm going to do a demonstration for you using this phone. So I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to take the phone out of this jig, and I am going to flip the screen, put it into the jig, up to the buttons. Right, so this is it in the jig as it is. I'm now going to tilt it back and move it forward and turn it and zoom in So I would work here, but I know that some people struggle because of some of the comments. Of course, you could switch the comments off, but I would work here. So I would just turn this so that it's there. And of course, the other thing is, my pen staves are really tall. So I have some of these coming out soon. I would move this so that, because I like my phone to be, flat. I would turn it. And I would move along on the desk, on my back, because I have a piano stool that I work on. So I would work here, but I'm not leaning over the work. And if I need the work a little bit closer, I can bring this up a little bit and move to a closer place. And I could zoom in and I can zoom out. Now, normally what I do is I look at... So let me do some writing so that you can see how it works. So let me do some writing so you can see how it works. So you have to be really careful because let's zoom out. Because the two buttons on the camera are right here, and the one button on this side, which shuts the phone off, is right here. So you only really have sort of here to hold the phone in place. Now, I have tried holding it at the bottom of the phone, but the problem with that is I can't see the screen because the screen is on, the mount is now here. So, it's a lot of it is sort of, I've sort of figured all of this out from a calligraphic point of view. Let's put this back up. Let's open that up. Let's tilt this so that the screen is flat. And I always put my ink in jars so that, I could tilt them, or I could move them a little bit more. Right, so now at this angle, actually, let's do a little bit of writing. At this angle, I would go back, tilt the phone, and tilt it up some more so that what you're seeing so you're seeing the tool working. So I really should be using my lift under here. So this is quite an old nib. Let's get a new nib. Right, so the reason I opted for this angle is if I zoom in, you can see the nib working. And the great thing is I'm far enough away from it, whereas I'm really glad that I have the new shafts because the phone is now lower. So the phone is here, whereas before it was up here. So I couldn't quite see what I was doing. So it's really important. It's really important that you sort of. My desk is at 5 degrees, so it's really important that you understand how to do your own filming. Now, for those of you who are students, and you know, I know the mount is an investment. I've come to realize that, you know, and the pandemic, one of the good things that the pandemic has done for us is it's allowed us to learn online. And I've found that with some of my students, some of my private students, and my semi-private students, they have taken the time to invest in the mount because they're able to set up their iPad in front of them and watch me work. And they can set their phone up in the jig, and they can tilt the phone to the hand so I can see their hand doing the work. And it's really important that, you know, if you're planning to learn, online, if that's your point of contact with your tutor, you know, it's really important you invest in a mount that's, sorry, I have to charge my phone. It's really important that you invest in a mount that can really help you to have your phone in place, or to have your iPad in place, whilst you're looking at what the tutor's doing, and you know that the tutor can actually see your hand, because if we can't see what you're doing, you know, it's a bit of an issue. The other thing that works, I've been playing with this because I'm sort of working with some new software. So Aaron at Arkon Mount suggests something called Switcher Studio, which is so robust. I have yet to sort of sit down and dig into it. And you can use both cameras, and you could use 3 or 4, or I think it's up to 8 different phones together with iPads and all this madness. And you can use all of this stuff together to film and to look at things. But I think, you know, for students, if you can put your iPad there and you can put your phone in the mount, then you can show the tutor what you're up to. You can also flip the screen on your iPad so that the tutor can see you working, because it's one thing to see your hand working. It's a very, very different matter when you can say to the student, all right, let me see how you're sitting. Where's the page? Obviously, if you're doing copperplate script, the phone is going to be at the angle of the page. But for the tutor to see where you are, it's a very different matter. I've found that with my private students that I started struggling to see what they were doing, because if you're writing here and the phone is focusing on this, I can't see beyond your hand. So for the phone to be here, I can really see what's happening. I don't want to see it from this position, and I'm not going to ask you to do this to show me what's happening. So it's, you know, there's a lot around the way that you have to sit. There's a lot around the way that you have to sort of, I mean, it's sort of freaking me out watching myself on my iPad whilst trying to do this. So there's a lot around how you approach the writing. Now, so obviously I'm just demonstrating some copperplate script. When it comes to demonstrating something like a broad edge script, if it's a vertical script, then I sit here So I write at the end of the table because my arm is on the table. So if I'm doing some textualis, which, you know, we have a great textualis lecture next week and a workshop on Sunday, so do join us. So my arm is moving on the table. Notice I'm not holding the arm up. So I'm really comfortable this way. But if I'm teaching, if I want to see what the student's doing, I can't see beyond this. And if your computer's here, I can't ask you to sit like this, because then your arm's off the table, so you have no support. So having a mount that this can sort of sit further out, or being able to move it to the front is really important. So I hope that's been helpful, giving you some insight into how I had to adjust this to make it work for me so that it would work for you. Right. The great thing is you can get a 20% discount off the mount. I'll put this in the information if you use this code that Aaron has so graciously given me. I'm just going to scroll back because I can see that there's some questions. Oh, Katrina's on, yay! So Aaron's put the code up. So there's a coupon code. It says PAScribe. It saves you 20% off the mounts. And there are other products as well. Aaron has a really great ring light that goes over the phone. And I sort of thought about getting one, but then I thought, it's because I use the front of the phone to hold it in place. So a lot of the stuff, I sat and I looked through the site, and once I'd had the original mount, I sort of started working with it. I then had to figure out a way to make it work for me. With 5 struts on it, it does move a little bit because there's a lot to balance, but I just hold it in place and it stops. I've also not tightened it really, really tight because I need some of the struts to move a little bit. So I know that I'm really gentle when I come to using the product. I'm not heavy-handed, and so that helps me to use the product really, really well and really effectively. I couldn't not have this for teaching on Zoom, because I need to zoom in. I might get up at the beginning and raise the pole. So until Aaron has a remote control one way the pole can adjust itself, that's brilliant. I would just a clapper one and it goes up. It comes of course, I didn't show you that there's a big mic over here as well. There's a mic, and of course with the mic, you have to mind the holder for the mic, and the mic has to be far enough so that the camera on the computer doesn't pick up the blue on the mic. And oh my gosh, it's just really, it is so much just trying to keep this looking good, but also just so that you don't have to see the technology. Yeah, Echo, that's really great that, your view of it is just the writing. You don't have all of this to see. And in fact, one of the things that I've done is I've gotten one of those tables that you have that go over the bed. So it's at a decent height so that the clamp for the new mount doesn't interact with the table, because my table is at the right height for my hand, for my arm. But if I'm doing textualis, I push the table out, not my table, I push the table with everything else on it out, so I can tilt my light table so that my textualis is in the right place. So I'm planning to do some posts with the textualis, and I think I might end up using the overhead mount for that. But it's a really steep learning curve. You have to keep trying. What is this? What is that? Does this work? Check out the angle. How is it going to work? I even thought of moving the new mount to here so that it can come over my shoulder, because my table is going to be at 45 degrees. So how are you going to see it when I'm doing this textual, this practice that I'm going to show? So there's all of this stuff that you have to think about. And you know, if you go to Arkon Mounts and you look at the way other people set up their mounts, and I spent a lot of time doing this. And you know, Becca, the Happily Ever Crafter, Becca has a mount as well. You know, a good friend of mine, Jane Davenport, she has a mount and she uses it. And seeing how different people use the mounts really give you a sense of where to start. But it's actually really personal. It's a really personal approach for how you use your mount. And you have to sit down and figure out what I had to sit down and figure out was what I wanted my followers to see. I want you to see the nib working. So the only way to see it is for you to see the nib from this angle. I also wanted you to see the letters from my angle, so they're not upside down or they're from the side. You know, and so it's taken a long time for me to get to the point where I'm confident enough to show you how this setup works and why it works for me, because it works for you. You know, you've been seeing this angle of you've been seeing me working from this angle for a long enough time to know that, oh, I really like how this works. So that's how I've set it up. So don't forget, I'll put this video in the PAScribe IGTV. I'll also share it on YouTube and Facebook, so that you guys can always sort of you guys can always have a look at it on other platforms. Excellent behind the scenes. You know, I sometimes just wish I had another little area that I could wheel this away, and so I could just look out over the studio. But unfortunately, the studio is big enough as it is. I'm always going to be obsessed with the pen collection in the background. This, you're obsessed with this? Acre Flow? What about this? Where is it? Come on. So there's brushes up there, huge brushes. And then there's I say there's pens and products as far as the eye can see. Let me get up and show you this. So that's normally what I look out at. So I've just done flourishing course, just finished the notes for the Textualis Quadratic lecture on Tuesday, which is going to be exceptional. You know, I have my Egyptian hieroglyphs up there. I have a big printer that we have a big project coming up. There's some scrolls up there, which I love my scrolls. And then there's some Rhodia, Clairefontaine, new products in the making. A new prototype over there, which you can't really see. And my books here, and so when I sit here, I can do this very easily. I can get to the stuff here. So, you know, there's more pens here, obviously. Then my pen racks are here. And there's the lining template is down here. So whenever I need it, I just grab it. There's more pens up here. So you get to see, so there's some more pigment up here. And the pens are there, some more pens, tons of parallel pens. Some Kurtaki and more parallel pens, more Kurtaki, Pentel brush pens, lots of pilot pens, Sakura, Molotov, Derwent. You know, there's just masses of them. And of course, you know, some Mabiu Cheetah pens. And then I have some more holders. Then, of course, there's my first manuscript page, which is always there so I could see it. And so that's sort of my little, oh, and the nibs are down here. So they're trays and trays and trays of nibs, right? Okay, so let me get through the questions. I'm just sort of waffling on. Sorry about that. PAScribe Arkon Mount. Yay. Yeah, today. It's going to start today. I've changed the oblique holder for straight holder. That's great. Okay. Too many cameras on you. So there are other functions. So I just need to test the Switcher Studio function with these 3 devices. I have another iPad at home, so it's you know, being able to show you different angles is really important for the practice. Is it a personal preference to use a straight holder or oblique holder? Okay, so I'm not really talking about that in this. Sold! Brilliant! Use the coupon code. Are you using 3 mounts? No, I'm using 2 mounts. So one mount has my camera in it, and the other mount I keep this phone in when I'm demonstrating. But I also have the clip for 2 iPads, which I use as well. It is a whole production. My current mounts are cookie containers, and you know, when I started off, right, I think I used, where is it? I think I used one of these. I used to put my phone in it so it leant forward, and I would pad it with stuff so that the phone, because sometimes the phone would just slip down while you're filming, right? So I would prop the phone in here, and oh my goodness, I mean, really, you know, I might as well have been a caveman. So much stuff. Oh, this is the stuff you could see. Oh, there's drawers of stuff. You know, there's all of that. So there's books under there as well. There's more stuff under there and on this shelf, and there's a whole column of drawers, and each drawer is full. So as you can see, I'm wearing flip-flops today because it's quite warm. Each drawer is full to the brim. And you know, there's more drawers over there. And you know, if you really want to see what's in the studio, so I have this huge plant chest. So I have a little kitchen with some coffee machines. I have this massive plant chest on wheels with paper. Here's my little spellbinders area with my my spellbinders, glimmer plate, and then this whole row, this whole shelf, all the way there, across here. All of this is Rhodia Clairefontaine paper. And then, of course, there's more books and tons of markers from Kuretake, and more paper and pigments and tons of stuff. I mean, there's just... and I even have these, right? So I have these Muji columns, and the top part of the Muji columns, they're filled with place cards and envelopes. So... you know, there's more stuff in here than you could shake a stick at. Right. Obsessed with organization. Okay. So there's a video on the lining template, which is up on IGTV, so have a look at it. Okay. So the software that I use to have the image from my phone to the computer is IV Cam. Have you any thoughts about GoPro? I've not used GoPro for any of my videos because I didn't really see the need to, because I have things that I use for that. Let's see. Okay, so I see lots of you are asking questions about the template. I'm gonna do I'll do a post about the template, I think next week, because I have a meeting with the production team about when it's going to be out, and once we have that, once we have the dates, I can start talking to you about the pre-order page, which we're planning to put up soon as well. You have a modern monk scriptorium. And you know, the funny thing is, crafting with a flourish, that's what I wanted. You know, in my head, I was like, oh, I want a little scriptorium somewhere. And I have rolls and rolls and rolls of vellum and tons of pigments, and you know, in my little jar, in my little dish with ruling pens, and you know, I have a Rolf pen. I love Rolf pens; they're really great. And I have an EZ pen from Alan. But in this roll of ruling pens, this quills, which is so, you know, I was looking at it today. I had a meeting today, and I was sort of looking at this going, so bizarre to have quills in the same holder as some ruling pens. Really, really funny. Okay, so thanks very much for your time. I hope that's helped you. I know some of you have been on the fence about getting an Arkon mount, so I hope that's helped you to understand how I use it. I'm you know, I'd be lost without mine, because it really makes a difference in the way I approach my writing. It really makes a difference in the way I approach showing you how my writing works, so that it's easier for you to see how the letters work. So thanks so much. Thank you very, very much. I'll see you guys next week. Don't forget, there's a massive lecture on Tuesday on Textualis Quadrata, and there is a brilliant workshop on the Sunday on Textualis Quadrata. I was talking to Max at Lettering Daily, and he said, I'm definitely taking this course. Your Textualis is the best. It's the most organized Textualis. So I'm very, very excited to teach this. So have a great Good Friday. Happy Easter to all of you. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.